Hello, everybody. Spidey here once again. Coming soon podcast coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. My guest, all the way from California, of course, Jessica Duclos. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know we have a time difference. I'm here in Texas. Right now it's like 3:30, but the weather's pretty bad. It's actually been raining. It's been cold. How is it out there in LA right now?
Right now, it's actually quite sunny. Looks
Oh, nice.
beautiful.
Well, hopefully some of that will come over here. We need
Yeah.
that good weather. So, but yes, but of course, I brought you on here. You were actually referred to by a mutual friend and Robert Cantu. So I definitely want to thank him for doing such. And I want you to talk about some your past projects because, of course, first off, when it comes to modeling, was that before acting or was that during acting?
That was kind of before,
Okay.
but also throughout. And I started sort of young. Like I was like 16 years old like 15, 16, when I really started doing modeling. I was actually inspired by my cousin. My cousin had like all these posters of like models in her bedroom, and she used to like put on makeup and on me and like do my hair and take some photos, and I was like, oh, that's fun. Like maybe I could do
You
that
used to it.
for a living. And so I started modeling. Got picked up by an agency like pretty early on. Had a beautiful career in my hometown, which is Quebec City in Canada. And that led me to do commercial work, and that's when I really like dived into acting, and
Wow.
I was like enamored. I was like, okay, this is my thing. I need to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I Yeah.
Man, well, let me ask you. Because during that time, what age were you? How old were you when that
I
happened?
I think I was like 16 when I started, but I also think that it lasted a couple of years because I did not move to the US until I was 21. So within that 5-year gap, um, I remember doing my first commercial, which was like a chocolate commercial.
Wow.
And it was so fun. It was like downtown, Old Town, Quebec City. I was like sitting on a bench and like opening this chocolate box and like just tasting the chocolate. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. If I could do this for the rest of my life, this is it. Yeah.
Of course, you said you came here when you were 21. So, what was there a difference? Of course, Canada, it's right north of the U.S. But when you moved out here, was there a big difference, like culture shock, should I say?
Oh my God, huge difference because I went from a small hometown to like New York City, which is one of the biggest city in the world. And yeah, this was a huge culture shock. I First of all, I had a language barrier because
Yeah.
English was not my first language. French is my first language. So as far as like acting, so I want to put like your audience into context. So basically, I moved to New York City to go study acting at the Lee Strasberg Film and Theater Institute.
Right.
And so for me to do that with a very small knowledge of English was pretty ballsy.
Wow. Yeah.
um, and so I went there. Like my parents were like such wonderful parents. They were supportive, and so they helped me. And I went there and I studied acting for like 3 years there. And I don't think I've realized how backward I was with the English culture. So I think it took me a good 10 years to really master the language, to really master like small things that people are saying, like the just the language overall, like the street language, right? So
Right.
I really didn't get it until many years later. And I didn't get the culture until many years later. I was desperately trying to hold on to my culture because it was what was defining me
Right.
as an actor and as a female in New York City. And mind you, like this was the first time that I moved away from my parents' house too.
Wow.
So being 21 in New York City was rough. Like I wasn't really allowed to work, and I had to kind of go through, jump jump through hoops to like
Yeah.
figure it out and get some work and be able to pay everything and build what I have right now. So it took forever.
Man,
Yeah.
you see, and you talk about culture shock because for me, I mean, I am in San Antonio, Texas. You know, my primary language was Spanish. Before I went to school, I was able to read, write, and speak in Spanish. Going into school, you know, I mean, of course, I spoke English as well, but it was I didn't realize how hard it was, even for Latinos or Mexicanos, you know, born here in the U.S. that didn't speak Spanish because I assumed everybody did. You know, I was a kid, but yeah, you know, it's hard. You know, I mean, I know I did. I think I took. French in high school, like for a semester, and I don't remember anything. I mean, there's words that pop up here and there, but I didn't stick with it or I didn't continue it. But I mean, there was a lot that I was able to pronounce, I guess, because of the whole. I mean, it sounds, you know, Latin, you know, so it's there were some words, some phrases that kind of stuck with me. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine moving to another country and just kind of winging it, you know,
Yeah,
not being able to communicate or talk to people.
and I think also being a woman in New York City, like
Yeah,
you have to always watch your back. It's incredible. Like men don't understand that, but as women, we constantly have to watch our backs,
yeah,
no matter if it's daytime, nighttime, like where we're walking. And I had to become really strong because I feel like I was like the naive little hometown girl, like coming to New York City. And that city hardened me like a lot. Like I I became like I had to put a carapace, you know, like a shield to go into the world and just like protect myself because it's just yeah.
no, yeah. I mean, you know, like you said, you were a woman in a new country, and then New York of all places. You know, I mean, you do have to put a front. You know, not kind of put yourself as a victim. So of course, that way people kind of leave you alone and you know not bother you. But yes, I mean, of course, I mean, when you moved out here, I mean, you went to acting school. The transition, how was it for you? I mean, you have been modeling, you've been in front of the camera, you've been in front of crowds. So acting, I mean, what was? I mean, it is different, but I mean, what was different about it? I mean, when it came to being in a film.
So I think like my transition from Quebec to New York City was very much learning about acting, right? Like just kind of learning the craft, like doing a lot of theater, doing a lot of on camera, testing some things, doing some film, doing some TV, just really learning about who I was and what kind of acting I really wanted to do and where was my strength. And then after that, when I did the transition from New York City to LA, I feel like I came to LA like a brand new person. Like I knew exactly where I was going and what I was doing with acting because I knew myself. You know,
Right.
I had experienced all these things in New York and I was like, okay, I'm ready now. Like I'm ready. I understand the culture. Like I became American in 2023,
Nice.
which was like a huge goal of mine. It took me 16 years, but like, yeah, I did it. And yeah, this now I think I've spent as many years in Canada as in the United States.
Right.
And I truly feel like I'm a true American now. So it's kind of nice to have like dual citizenship and be able to switch back and forth. I have a career in Canada as well. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. Mhm.
No, no, for sure. You know, because I mean, of course, when it comes to traveling, you know, makes it a lot easier. But I mentioned earlier, as far as having family and friends in Quebec. I mean, you still have family out there, correct?
All my family is out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So how is it? I mean, because of course, jumping in films from shorts to series. When you go out there, I mean, do they know as far as your projects, where you're jumping on? How do they feel about that?
I think I mean I don't tell them everything because you know how the film industry is. It's like you're signing up on a project and then all of a sudden it gets on pause or they lose finance or whatever and you don't end up working on that project. And so now like until I'm actually on set filming it, I do not say anything
Yeah.
because I think for my own like protection, because I feel like it's always a disappointment when something doesn't really go according to plan.
Right.
So yeah, I try to stay quiet about it and just do my thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know if it answers your question.
No, it does. It does. And I mean, the only reason I was asking was because when it comes to you wanting to do all this or doing all this, family, I mean, back home, are they involved in film? Is anybody out there, music, artists?
So no one is involved in film in my family. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family. My whole family was into sports.
Oh,
I have a brother who's a professional tennis player, and then my sister, she used to be a professional pole vaulter,
wow.
transitioned into being a doctor. So she's like a
Wow.
family doctor now. So like, yeah, both my parents, my mom has an artistic side, and I guess my dad too, but they don't really express it that much. So my both my parents were into coaching in sports.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I grew up with like health and wellness and sports my whole life. So being an artist is kind of like I'm the black sheep of the family, essentially. But they're very supportive, like thank God. But I think sometimes they just struggle with how to support me because like they don't really know, right? So it's
Right.
hard for them to be able to support me in the things that I do. But they're starting to like get it slowly. Mhm.
And of course, I mean, when you say you're the black sheep of the family, because of course everybody, like you said, they're in sports. Sister being a doctor now. So, what I mean, the fact that they support you, did they ever kind of like, hey, you know what, have a plan B, have a plan C, anything like that?
Oh my God. Yes. I think that was like the biggest thing for me. And I think it set me back, to be honest. Um, because I think when you have a plan B and C,
Yeah.
you're not, you have something else. So you're not
Right.
completely focused on plan A, right?
Right.
And there are other options. So your plan A is just not 100% ever.
Wow.
And I think for me, it's very true in my life. Like my plan A, which is becoming like an actor, was always like interlaced with other plans, right? Plan B, plan C. Um, I worked nightlife for a really long time to support my
Right.
acting. So that was kind of like a quote unquote plan B. And then I I kind of went to university. I have a bachelor's degree in international business and marketing. And when I say I kind of went to university, like I went to university, I have that
Yeah.
bachelor degree, but like I just feel like it doesn't do anything for me right now. You know, it was years ago, and I'm not really using any of this because the
Right.
world has changed with social media, all kinds of stuff. So whatever I learned, I'm not really like using it, to be
Right.
honest. So I feel like I lost some time there. But people, like a lot of other people would say otherwise. They would be like, no, but you learn to like work your brain and like all of this stuff. And like, yeah, sure. But I think I was always a very social person. Like even at university, I was always involved with like different associations, different groups of people that were like throwing like fashion shows and like marketing competitions
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I was always doing that. Like I had so much more fun doing things than like learning in school, you know? And I think that that shows on my grades. I was always involved in different things. Um, and then after that, like I think my plan B as I've evolved and as I've grown with the industry
Right.
was always to do what I know best, what I've done my whole life, which is health and wellness.
Yeah.
So I do acting and I'm like very passionate about that. I'm gonna do this my entire life. But I also am passionate about health and wellness. And right now I'm building this beautiful brand, this beautiful company that has to do with holistic beauty, with aging gracefully, and maintaining your youth for as long as you can with nutrition, lifestyle, etc. So I live and breathe my brand because this
Okay.
is what I do for me. And it really helps me with acting because it helps me staying with my competition, right? Like I'm maintaining myself, I'm taking care of myself, so it allows me to be playing a range of roles that at my age maybe I wouldn't be able to play because I look young. So it's kind of nice, to be honest.
No, well, you see, I mean, that says a lot because it is your brand, but at the same time, you are using it. So I mean, you have your own experience. I mean, you can actually tell people, it's not a lie. I mean, you do use the product, so it does help with film. So, I mean, with something like that, let me ask you because I have a local actor here in Stephen Andrews, and I'll go ahead and give him a shout. But I mean, he had talked about I guess for puffiness, and just kind of like the same thing, just kind of taking care of himself, because he is an actor. So I mean, of course, you want to look 100% or at least close to, I mean, when the roles do come in, some people do alter their appearance. I mean, when it comes to dyeing their hair, cutting their hair, or vice versa. But let me ask you, because of that product, I mean, is that, would you kind of consider that a plan B right now, or not even a plan B, but I mean, that's just your company, right? So this is something that
Yeah,
you're pushing.
I mean, it's not that it's, I don't want to say that it's necessarily a plan B
No, no, no.
because it is part of my life. And
Right,
also, let's be realistic. Like the business of acting and the filmmaking business has changed so much within the last 5 to 10 years. And the money that actors used to make is just not the same anymore
right,
because now you have all streaming platforms, like contracts are just different and you're not getting as much residuals as
right,
you used to get. And so honestly, like unless you're a celebrity or something that is like currently on a show and like doing really well and having a recurrent role, you're not, this isn't enough.
right.
You're not going to be making enough money to survive and just be a struggling actor for the rest of your life. Like personally, I don't want that.
Right. Oh
So
yeah.
I sort of managed to create something that I really love, and I think it can work really well pairing this with my acting career
Right.
because it goes hands in hands, right? And so it's like I think I'm very fortunate to be able to have found my purpose in life, and my purpose is like to heal other people and to make them feel good and confident about themselves because they look young and they just are healthy from the inside out,
Right.
and making movies that I truly feel that I want to make, that I want to tell this story, that I want to play this character and become that person so that other people can relate, right? Other people can see themselves in the characters that I'm playing and feel things, feel emotions.
No, no, for sure. I mean, I agree. 100%. And you're in the right market because you are in film. So of course you're there to plug this product in, right? When you go to projects or just meet people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I need to like necessarily like plug it, but like it's just part of me, it's part of my life. It goes hands in hand, like I said, and it's like I do all this thing aside of acting and it's a great compliment to
Yeah.
it, and I just want people to know that and to see that I'm really like living and walking my what I'm saying, basically my talk, like you're walking
No,
my
no, no,
talk.
definitely. And let me ask you, because you talked about when you get into character, you get a role in a movie. How do you go about getting into character? Like, I mean, of course, they give you the script. They're like, hey, you know what? This is what she does. This is, I mean, do you use like life experience? Do you like research it? How do you go about doing that?
I do all of this, just everything you said. I think I was trained as an actor with the Lee Strasberg method, so it's method acting.
Nice.
So I use sense memory a lot. And so I do plunge in my past and I look at like similar feelings, similar experiences that I've already experienced and how I can have a trigger to bring that into the scene that I'm working on, for example. And so I work with all my senses, like the five senses. I work with all of that. And to me, this is what has been proven to work on a consistent basis.
Right.
But I've also, throughout all my years of studying acting, I've studied Meisner, the Meisner method. I've studied Stella Adler method. And so I take a little bit of all the methods and I mix it and I do my own mix of sort of method depending on what I need for the role, you
Right.
know? Um, so yeah, I have that. I have like a whole list of specific questions that I'm asking myself to build my character, and then I'll do some improv with the life of the character. So I'll do improv before the movie, what's happening in the life of the character, and after the movie, so as a continuation of the character's life. I will be improvising short periods that are in the script, short moments. Um, and then what happens when you do that is that your brain, you're essentially tricking your brain, and you have truly lived the life of your character. So it's embedded in you, it's in your brain, it's in your memories. And so when you're acting on set and you're doing your thing, you are truly living the life of your character because you remember things that you've lived before and
Right.
you've done before. Yeah.
Man, that's pretty deep. I like it. I mean, and let me ask you. Earlier you were talking about going to school. That you did take some. You felt like it kind of held you back. I know on your IMDb, a lot of it is not up to date when it comes to IMDb. But there was a time period. I think it was like a 3 or 4 year gap. Was that because you were in school, or is that just not up to date?
You mean like there's a couple year gap where I haven't done any projects?
Right.
Is that what you mean? Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much when I felt like, okay, I tried acting in the US and it's like it's been really hard to get like projects and stuff like that. Like I had a period where I was like really struggling and I was asking myself if I still wanted to do acting.
Okay.
And so I paused for a minute and I actually dived into health and wellness with this time because I was like, okay, I have to be real with myself. Like, if acting doesn't work, what else do I like? What else do I want to do with my life? Because when I think all actors are crazy, we're all crazy because we think like we're always one project away from being extremely successful and having our quote unquote break, right?
Right.
And so you got to be crazy to keep going when it's not happening and you still believe and you still keep going, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're all crazy in some type of way. And for me, I definitely felt that at some point, and I was like, all right, like, what else is out there? And so I used that time to become a yoga teacher. So I studied yoga. I got certified. I got certified as a nutrition health coach. And it was in that moment that I was like, I'm really passionate about anti-aging and like being healthy and live my life always growing as a person, always being like a better version of myself. So, how can I take all the things that I know and put that into a business? So, I think in that time gap, this is where I really like laid the foundation on many, many things that is now in my current business.
Nice. No, I mean, and that's a lot of experience. I mean, I guess I will say this though, because you took that break. I mean, something great came out of that because
Yeah.
now it became part of your life. It is part of your life, so that's just something that's going to be with you forever. So that's a great thing. Now, let me ask you. I mean, as far as the roles, I know I went through your IMDb. A lot of the films are like drama. I think there's like a thriller, movie in there. Do you have a specific genre that you prefer to jump on, or is are you open? I mean, obviously to everything that comes.
I mean, I'm open, obviously, because I'm an actor, so like
Yeah.
I should be able to play anything.
Right.
But I think where I am at my best is definitely drama. and I really love drama. Like everything that's drama is something very challenging for me, and I get to go to places where I don't go in my regular life, you know? Because although although I am an actor and I love drama, in my life I try to not have drama. Very balanced and just calm, as peaceful as I can. So I think a part of me is like looking for this drama. So when I get to pick projects and act, I want to be able to feel all the feelings and the drama and just everything. I want to be able to explore that, because that's where my creative outlet is at. Like acting is art. Like that's where I get to do my art, and that's why it's so nice when you have a project where the director is just like, "This is your character, and I'm giving you full like
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want with it." So yeah, I'm forgetting the expression, but like I'm giving you, you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
yes, yes. And I was gonna say too, because for me, there's a something that somebody told me. I think it was like in the mid '90s, but they were saying like for me, it stuck with me. But they said the opposite of depression is expression. So that's something that I've told my kids, when they were little or going through, my oldest, through high school, and I would tell her, like, you know what, if you're feeling depressed, I said, let it out, go sing, go dance, go do something. There, you holding it inside, I mean, it's just a burden. It's just stuff that you don't want to hold on to. But at the same time, I mean, when I think about actors or I think about musicians or artists, I always feel that it's those emotions, those that you know whether it's depression or whatever, people go through trauma, and it translates. You can actually use that and propel your art, when it comes to artists, when it comes to musicians. I mean, a lot of times I see a lot of feeling in it. There's a song and I see the musician really going into the song. I'm thinking, man, you know what, our first thought is like, man, who hurt this guy, because it's something that they hold on to, and it's very personal. So I always feel it kind of complements somebody's artistic, you know feel.
yeah. And I like the nuances as well, because like someone can show an emotion, like let's take for example anger, right? And the emotion of anger. But there's so many ways of playing anger,
Yeah.
you can be angry and have rage and just kind of let it out, but
Yeah.
you can also be angry and like be like extremely quiet and
Right.
try and repress that anger. And there's so many little nuances, and from character to character I get to pick, which ones do I want to show here, like what is it that I want to create. And going back to Robert, our friend Robert,
Right.
who directed me in All Points Bulletin, he literally told me like, you do whatever you want with the character, like this is your character. And now we're actually heading for a sequel,
Yes.
the second short film, where I'm becoming the main character in that movie, and I'm playing this like very disturbed person who uh who is very jealous of her colleague, and is like planting the seed to like kill her.
Right.
And so it's just very interesting to just play someone that is a murderer essentially, because you have to question yourself like, how can I play a murderer? Where do I need to go inside of me to want to truly kill another human being, you
Right.
know? And so this is really interesting. And I love when directors are just like, you obviously know what you're doing, so I trust you with it, and you do you. You do what you want.
Now, I was gonna say, I think that's when those years living in New York help out. You wanting to kill somebody, and I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't want people getting upset. But you know what, though? I mean, that does kind of make sense, though, because I mean, him giving you free range and letting you become that character makes it personal. So now you're gonna be that character, and you're gonna be able to propel that into the on screen or on in front of the camera. So I like the way he does that, because for one thing, you are a professional, so you obviously do know what you're doing, and that's what's gonna make it even a better film. So,
Mhm.
and do you have
Well,
a
I was gonna say film is always teamwork, so like obviously you have the director telling you some things and like kind of like guiding you. and everyone on a film is playing their own part, because at the end of the day, everybody's work is gonna come together, and it's a team and it's
Right.
teamwork. So whether if the movie is successful or not, like, it's about the team. So if there's one missing link, like one person that isn't doing their job right, like, I'm sorry, but the movie is not gonna be
Right.
successful. So yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, for the most part, everybody is there because they want to. So, I mean, the fact that they don't go in there and actually do their best or give it 100%, it does reflect on the film itself.
Mhm.
Let me ask you. Earlier, you were talking about. I think it was you said your brother was a professional tennis player.
Yeah.
So, do you play tennis yourself?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, are you pretty good? Let me ask you that.
I mean, I do play, like, I feel like I haven't really played in the last year or so, just because it's so hard to find a partner to play tennis. But I used to play a lot, like, with one of my ex-boyfriends. Like, we every single weekend we would make it a point to, like, go play tennis, and that was kind of our thing for a while. And then I just kind of like stopped playing because I it was really hard to find partners,
Right.
to play. But yeah, I love playing tennis. It's definitely something that keeps my mind off things, and I don't know, I think it's such a beautiful sport. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually took it in community college of all things, right? I took tennis, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't good at it at all. I mean, I was good, but I wasn't. I didn't pursue it, obviously. But it's not just eye hand coordination. I mean, there's a lot that goes to it. You got to read the body language of the other player. You got to, so it's not just physical, it's mental.
Oh yeah.
So it's a tough game. But let me ask you. I mean, of course, right now you are living in California, LA. So this fire, everything that happened, I think it was like within the past few weeks. Were you personally affected by that?
So I was affected for like 2 days. I live near Runyon Canyon. It's like the middle of Hollywood, like right at the base of Runyon. And we we had a fire in Runyon, and I'm the one who actually called 911 on it because I
Oh my
happened to be on my rooftop. I was taking a video of the Palisades fire for my mom, and I'm like, I gotta hang up the phone because I can't take the video. So let me call you right back. And I start taking the video, and I'm panning out on
wow.
Runyon, and I see a fire starting. And I was like, am I tripping? Like, is that a fire in Runyon Canyon? And I got so like hectic, like just so scared. And I called 911. And honestly, I barely had the time to call back my mom. I just went down my building. I took the suitcase that I had packed. So thank God I did pack a suitcase, because I was like, just in case, just in case I have to leave. So I took my suitcase, I threw it in my car, and as I was leaving, the fire was already like down my street. And so I got like some trauma out of this, I'm sure, because I
No,
thought I
yeah,
was going to lose my house. I was crying. I was trying to get out of LA. And when everybody's
yeah.
trying to get out at the same time,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not going well. There's like crazy traffic on the 101. And yeah, I was trying to just pull very dangerous moves driving. Um, I got myself into Long Beach. I've evacuated and prayed that my house would be fine. And the next day, I went back just to see, and everything was fine. So I was like, oh my God, thank God. But I'm saying that, very lightly, because I know that people have lost their home and have lost everything. And it's a really, really, really sad moment to lose your house and your memories and all
right.
the things that you own. Um, so yeah, my heart goes to the ones that did lose their house, and everything, because yeah, it's heartbreaking. And to twist that on a positive note, sometimes it's just a redirection. When
Right.
something like that happens, I told myself, like, if I do lose everything, be it. I will rebuild, I will redirect, and it's I can just buy things. It's those are only things. Those are not people, you know?
No, exactly. And I was gonna say, as long as everybody got out safe, and I mean, that's definitely the most important thing. Of course, when it comes to home, I mean, it's like I'll tell people, like it's just kind of like losing your wallet or you're losing your phone. It's so personal that you lose
Right.
your phone. You're like, man, like that's you have everything in there. So a house, of course, everything's there. I mean, something that we get so used to being home, we feel safe. So yeah, those that were affected, I mean, my prayers even to people that are still being affected by it. Hope everybody gets back to where they were. For the most part.
Absolutely. And I was impressed by the amount of people that got together to help out and to
Yeah,
help others. Like, I mean, Los Angeles is amazing. Like the community that we have here is is just like out of a movie right now, because literally people always say like, oh, LA is so fake, like everyone's so fake, blah blah blah. But like, sorry, but no, like no, yeah, of course there are some of those fake people, but when it's really time to come together as a community and
yeah,
help out each
just
other, like
step up.
we're there, like we're all there. And I've seen amazing things happening, like people really going out of their way to like help out, to like have some people staying over at their house, going and donate and like go and buy groceries and like,
Yeah. No problem.
bring that to shelters. I mean, wow, what an incredible community is LA.
No, no, you see, and that's always a good thing because, of course, I know with social media, people um, right away you start hearing those comments or seeing those comments. People saying, like you said, it's fake. Nobody, they don't care about us. But it's just it goes back to like my kids. One scenario, like we were driving somewhere and there was a guy that fell off. He was in a wheelchair and for somehow he fell off. He was like on the road. So my first instinct was to pull over. I blocked him so the incoming cars wouldn't, and I got up, and he was a heavy guy. He was a big guy, but I helped him up. I put up the wheelchair up, got in my vehicle, and people kind of waved at me like, "Hey, it's a good thing," and it was. But it was a teaching moment for my kids because I told them, I said, "Look, I said when people are in need, you don't go and ask who they voted for. You don't go and ask what they, their beliefs. It's just you just do what good people do, and that's help out. And that's it's like if people aren't going to do that, then there's no need to comment or post negative things, because nobody it's like it happens to them, and then what? They get to see. It does words like that do matter. There's no room for that.
I agree. Mhm.
Now, to get away from that, and of course, like I said, I mean, I hope everybody's getting better, doing better than they were. Projects. I wanted to ask you about projects you have going on right now. Can you tell us what you're working on?
Yeah. So the next project, well, I have two really. I have the one I just talked about with Robert, hopefully, that we are gonna film in Austin, Texas.
Nice, nice.
So yeah, that should be in March. And then I have another project which is a feature film, and it's been a project that was like kind of on and off like past year because we lost finances on it, but
Mhm.
now we're back, and so it's gonna happen this year, hopefully soon. It's a feature film where I get to play the lead, and it's called Sister Margaret. So I play a nun who is sort of cutting herself, right? She's hurting herself,
Right.
um, and she's going through just a lot of things because she's from a family that is gang members,
Oh, okay.
and a family that's involved essentially into gang banging and like just in that vibe. And so
Oh, yes, yes.
she's losing her brother um, during an event. And after that, she can't forgive herself for letting this happen. And she's very confused with God. And she's like, why did you bring this upon me? Because I don't deserve this. And if you're truly there, God, like, why? Like, why did you do this? And so she's struggling with like forgiving herself and forgiving God itself. And the weird part is that she's a nun, right? So she prays all the time. And yeah, she's trying to help out like other people that have been in jail and have been in gangs, and she's trying to give them a way out of it into a beautiful new life, and
Right.
that's her purpose. But I think throughout the film you can really see the struggle there. And so for me, I think it's an extremely interesting role to play. First of all, I'm not religious. I grew up being Catholic and then sort of Christian, but not like fully in, right? It's
Right.
just kind of grew up with it. It was kind of in the air. And then with the years, I became more like with my yoga and everything, I became closer to the Buddhism like philosophy.
Right.
So I love that philosophy. I think it's such a beautiful philosophy to have. And so, yeah, as a person who's not religious, like now I have to become religious, right? So I have to have a little bit of like material, like things that I can hold on to when I'm working on my character, because I'm like, all right, now I'm Sister Margaret. So I'm holding on to, for example, um, my candle, right?
Right.
Um, or a rosary, and I'm holding on to it, and I can become that character and do all the work that I have to do for that. And I went to a convent already to like spend some time there
Oh,
and see
wow.
how, like, yeah, the nuns are living. And hopefully, like, I've been I've been asking the director to put me in touch with a place like an actual convent where I can go and spend a few nights, like a night or two, and just be
Oh,
quiet and
wow.
observe and get the gestural, the gestures that
Yeah.
these women have, and like really get into the character. But for that, you need to observe, you need to be close
Yeah.
to those kind of people. And so, and take notes, right? And like just try things. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Like I cannot wait to play this character. Because it's not the typical character that I would be playing.
Right.
That makes it super challenging.
That's interesting. I mean, especially, I would assume if you spend a night or two at a convent, I mean, for one thing, it would be quiet. So I think that's where your yoga and everything else that you've done when it comes to relaxing would kind of help out. But it's that's interesting. I've never thought about that. But I mean, hopefully it happens. I mean, I would love for you to be able to experience that and be able to put it on film, because that's something
And
like you said.
and I think because you mentioned quiet, right, at night in a convent, like people in general are very uncomfortable with being quiet and sitting with themselves without a phone, without distractions, without their computer, without doing something, right? So I think just sitting by yourself in a room away from all of this, all the distractions, and sitting with God, right? I'm just going to say God or the universe or love, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Sitting with yourself and with God is something extremely uncomfortable, because there's a lot of truth that are coming out of that moment. And for me, like I sit a lot alone because I live alone. So like I sit a lot alone and I get to spend that time away from distractions. But even when I'm trying to be away from distraction, it's so hard because it's so easy to reach out for the phone when you feel lonely. It's so easy to try and get attention, like online or social
Yeah.
media, like when you feel lonely. It's just so easy. And I've learned with the years the importance of sitting quiet with yourself and with God and listening, right? Listening to whatever is going on and where it's taking you.
Let me say, because that's one of the things I always tell people. Like for myself, like I like to stay busy. Like whether it's doing the podcast, helping out on indie films, at work or around the house. But it does. I was a member of a church for years, and my time there, one of the things that I enjoy was the tranquility, because of course you're not on your phone. You're not, you know, uh, the pastors, speaking his words, just, we're studying the Bible, we're doing what God intended us to do. And this is just me in that time. But for me, I miss that because yeah, it's true. It's so easy for me to just finish this and go and play on my phone or get on the phone and do something. But I mean, for people to actually, like you said, sit back and spend time away, that's something that the world, about 80, maybe 90% of the world doesn't do anymore. When it comes to electronics, it's everything's in the palm of our hand. Like before, we used to have a radio, we had a phone, we had so many different things, and now it's all in one gadget, right? But yeah, that's something that I'll definitely look forward to doing more myself this year because it does help. It's just like unplugging the brain and just resetting. Just getting away from social media and I mean, people do that a lot. And it's kind of I have friends that I talk to and I'll run into and I'm like, man, you're not on Facebook or on Instagram, and they're like, oh no, I don't do that, man. And it's like wow, like there's people like that. They don't have to be on there, and it'd probably be a lot less stressful, when it comes to having to get on and log on and kind of outdo yourself when it comes to, you know, people that I forgot what you call them, but I mean, people, content creators, always constantly having to do a new video or a new platform. But yes, definitely unwind. I'm looking forward to doing that maybe soon, not today or tomorrow,
Yeah.
but soon. But let me ask you. So, of course, that definitely sounds deep. I mean, that character, the fact that you're going to be able to play a nun and actually get in character. I mean, it's intriguing. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, once the project that's going to be starting this year, you said.
Yes, that's gonna all happen this year. We're supposed to film in Pasadena, so now with the fires, I'm not sure like if we're still having locations, but yeah, that's the plan. Mhm.
Nice, man. Well, definitely, that sounds great. I mean, looking forward to that. And to wrap it up, I mean, of course, I did want to talk about a project that you're actually working on. I mean, this is something you sent me the image. I'm going to put this up real quick. But tell us about uh, this project right here, Split Second.
That's my short film. Basically, this movie I have done. I have wrote it. I produced it. I've written it. Sorry, sometimes my English is like.
No, you
I've written it. I've produced it. I have directed it. I have done the editing, the sound editing, sound engineering on it. Um, I've basically done it all in the colors. So I'm extremely proud of this project because it's all me behind the scenes, right? Behind the camera. So I'm not acting in it. I'm just directing, producing,
right.
essentially, and all the rest that I mentioned. But this was a challenging project for me. I got to channel pain, my pain of an event that truly happened to me, and channel that pain into my art, which is
Right.
creating a movie about it. So at the time, it was extremely helpful for me to to have that art to express myself and let it out, essentially. Um, and then it took me forever to release it because I was not satisfied of it in so many ways because the movie started like the idea of the movie started with wanting to be part of Project Greenlight. I don't know if you know what that is. Like it was a filmmakers competition run by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and the challenge to get in the competition was to create a short film of 3 minutes. And this happened at the time that I was going through this event. So I was like, okay, let me write about this. And I wrote like a couple pages about it and started just kind of shooting it. And I told my actors, just improv, this is like the through line. You have lines, but like you don't have to stick to the lines. Just go however whichever direction you want to go with. And then I watched the footage and I was like, oh my God, this is really good. Like, I have things for more than a 3 minute film. Like, this can actually be a 10-minute short film,
Yeah.
and I can submit this to a film festival and all of it. And at the time, I was like traveling to Italy and I didn't have time to do the editing because, first of all, I did not know how to edit and I wanted to learn. So I was like, screw Project Greenlight. I'm just gonna learn and like use that project as like just a learning curve and do everything. And so that's what I did. I literally paid a friend of mine to like showed me how to edit and doing all of it. And I this was a wonderful experience for me to learn how to make a movie. And I had amazing actors. Like my whole team was so good, so understanding. Like, wow, I was so lucky. I was so lucky to have locations in New York City that I did not need permits for, like free. So honestly, this film cost me almost nothing. And now it's in like 2 film festivals already. And I'm doing the round of film festival, and it's been years, that I have not worked on this project. And last year I was like, "You know what? I think I want to just start over and just really like tight this up because when you don't let go of something, it's always on your mind, and
Right.
it's hard to move on to like other projects because you're still holding on to that one.
Right.
That one I was holding on to because it was a very personal project. It's based on a true story of my brother, and so everything was so personal, and I was scared of releasing it because I was scared of what people would think and what people would say. And also on top of being my first film project, first time filmmaker, I'm like, whoa, I can see all my mistakes already. Like, I don't know if I want to release that because there's so many mistakes in the film, right? So I had to truly like go deep with myself and just be like, okay, I'm gonna do the best that I can with this version of the film that I have, finish this project, submit that to film festival, and so be it. And I had a beautiful surprise. Like it got picked up by film festivals, and
Nice.
I'm so thrilled, and I can't wait. Like I'm like, yes, give me more. Like I want to go to more film festivals, and I want this movie to be seen because it has a message, like a really important message.
Right.
Because you know, also after that film, when I first shot it, the Me Too movement happened, and that film is essentially the opposite of the Me Too movement. And so I basically taking the side of the men because sometimes men are getting entrapped in
Right.
things, in sexual scandals and in things that they don't want to be trapped in, but somehow they got involved and they're trapped now.
Right.
And so and it's not to put any like women victims of sexual abuse down. No, not at all. There's a place and time for the Me Too movement, absolutely, and people should keep talking about this. But on that specific movie, it's really showing the reverse that can
Right.
happen. And so I think it's not something that is talked enough, that the reverse does happen.
Right.
Well, some women just want money and they make up things and they entrap men into things just to get something out of it. And it's really unfortunate, but it does happen. So that's what the movie is about. Mhm.
No, yeah, and you see, and I will say this because for me personally, you know, I've never been in that situation, but I mean, there's been times where somebody will say something that I did, and it's their word against mine. Um, one at one point it was an ex, and it got to where like people started believing her, and I was like, damn. I said, okay. I said, you know what? But I felt like if I were to speak out, like it just would make it even bigger, a bigger problem.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, she came out and was saying she was lying, and but it was just, because I mean, for me, it's just like saying, okay, well, you know what, he did this, and now I'm guilty until proven innocent. I have to go through that whole process, and I mean, people do go through that on the daily or weekly. I mean, things do happen, but at the same time, now I gotta fight, to prove myself innocent. And it's like I go through all this, and at the end, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, innocent, but nobody after that, nobody's talking about that. It's like, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's a whole mess. But yeah, I mean, of course, for those that are being affected, as far as like you said, like with women, it's a bad thing. I have two daughters, and one of the things I always tell them is, always, not trust anybody. I mean, there's people that you do trust. I mean, but being young, of course,
But how sad is that? Like to not have to trust anybody, right?
right,
Like it's so sad because I feel like the world should be more trusting. Like we should be more trusting each other to do the right thing. Like I think we all have like a compass inside of us. And we know when we're doing something wrong and we know when we're doing something good, for the
right,
world. And I think we need more people that have like a good compass and do things right by other people and show the good example of this, and start trusting each other more because at the end of the day we're all one, we're all together in this and we're all interconnected. And the reason why I call this movie Split Second is because sometimes you take a decision in your mind in a split
yeah,
second and oh my god, your whole life changed
yeah,
because it was a bad decision and you didn't listen to your intuition. You still went with it because it takes a second, a split
yeah.
second to take your decision, and it's affecting the whole course of your life. And that's what I've personally seen with my brother. And thankfully now, like his whole life, like turned around, and he's such an amazing person. Like I admire my brother so much for going through all the things he went through, and it made him so strong, and it made him who he is now, like a such a better man, such a better man. I'm so proud of him. And everything in life happens for a reason, everything that's hard, like all your obstacles, your difficulties,
Yeah.
like it's for you to like redirect somewhere else and to learn from this because something better is on the other side.
No, yeah. I mean, obstacles. I mean, we go through them on a daily, and yeah, it's not funny you say that, but I mean, when you talk about the split second, because we all have those moments in life where, yeah, it's like it's like saying, okay, turn left or right, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go this way, and it might be the wrong turn. I mean, things do, it affect your life, in such fashion. But yeah, it's something to think about. I mean, this film. I mean, you are taking it to film festivals, but as far as release date, what are you looking at?
I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna just keep it in the film festivals for a while.
Right, right.
Um, and then like I would love to release it at the Chinese theater.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, I would really love that. A friend of mine has had his movie released there. It was a beautiful premiere, and I think I may ask for the contacts for that. I'm always like weird about asking for things like that, but if you don't ask for what you want in life, like you're not gonna get it,
Right.
period, right? So like take your shot, right? You've got nothing to lose. So I think I'm gonna ask for it and making it a beautiful like red carpet event. That would be awesome.
Nice.
And then let's see what's gonna happen. But I do not have a date right now because I really want the premieres to be in film festivals. Like I
Right.
want people to go to film festivals and see this movie, and I want people to talk about it and do more podcasts about it,
Oh,
and more interviews about it because this the subject, the topic of this movie is so important. So that's
no,
why.
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's something like you said. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about that. So it's just like when it comes to men. I mean, I've always told people, it was hard for me growing up as a kid, to even tell my dad I loved him. Because we were macho. We didn't do stuff like that. So yeah, definitely go out there and hope it does well. But of course, Jessica, I do thank you for jumping on here. I mean, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I think we talked about so
Yeah,
much.
it was a
Wow.
good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Mhm. Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. And you can find me on Instagram. Jessica Duclos _official. My company is also there on Instagram. It's called Bloom and Elixir. It's a health and wellness company, and my movie is Split Second. It will be most likely screened at the Los Angeles International Short Film Festival in February. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I can't wait to meet all of you. Like, come say hello on my page, and it'll be my pleasure. So.
No, no, our pleasure is all mine. Thank you for joining me. Don't hang up yet, but everybody out there, of course, once again, this is Spida Coming Soon podcast. Till next time.